Chapter 18. Lustful, Libertine.
The prophet has a greater claim on the faithful than they have on themselves.
The fourth year of the Islamic era begins oddly.
Ishaq. After Uhud, a group of men from Adal and Qarah came to the messenger of Allah and said, "O Prophet, we are good Muslims and have accepted Islam. Please send us some of your companions to instruct us in the religion. Teach us to recite the Quran and teach us the laws of Islam."
If they were unaware of the faith, the Quran, and Islamic law, how could they have been good Muslims? Tabari gives us the answer.
The tribe of Lihiyan was seeking vengeance for the killing of their chief, and they paid these men to ask for instructors.
They were good Muslims because they wanted to become better militants. At least Islam is consistent.
Tabari. Other authorities have a different account of this expedition. One variant says, the messenger sent out a group of 10 men, putting Asim in command. When they arrived, someone told the Lihiyans about them. They sent 100 archers against the Muslims.
Why do you suppose they would do that? Weren't these men on a religious mission? No, not hardly. Not only were they armed to the teeth, the mission itself was called a raid. Furthermore, most of Muhammad's terrorist attacks hadn't been against the Quraysh, but instead against neighboring tribes. The bad boys of Medina had developed a reputation. Today, our politicians and media would say that they had ties to Al-Qaeda.
Tabari and Ishaq. The Muslims bivouacked for the night and were taken by surprise. So the Muslims took up their swords,
not Qurans,
to fight them. But the Lihyans said, "We do not want to kill you. We only want to get some money by selling you to the Meccans. We swear by Allah's covenant that we will not kill you." By Allah, Asim said, "We will never accept an agreement from an unbelieving infidel." They fought until they were killed.
Both pagan and Muslim swore by the same God. What's more, the pagans referenced Allah's covenant, Qusay's scheme, the very foundation of Islam.
Qubayb gave himself up and became a prisoner. They took him to Mecca and handed him over to the sons of Al-Harith, as Qubayb had killed their father at Uhud. They took Qubayb out of the Haram, the sacred area around Mecca, to kill him. He asked to pray 2 rakas, and he made 2 prostrations. After that, it became the sunnah, or example, for those about to be executed to pray 2 rakas. Qubayb said, "My death is for Allah. He will bless the limbs of my mangled corpse."
This is what the suicide bombers who destroyed the World Trade Center must have thought between shouts of Allahu Akbar.
They took him out and beheaded him.
Next we discover that Qubayb was crucified, not beheaded.
Tabari. The messenger sent Amr to the Quraysh as a spy. He said, "I came to the cross on which Qubayb was bound and untied him. He fell to the ground, and I withdrew a short distance. When I turned around, I could not see a trace of Qubayb. The earth had swallowed him up."
While Muslim militants are supposed to be granted a stay in Allah's brothel, Qubayb appears to have gone down, not up. Moving on, it's time for another assassination.
Tabari. Amr was sent by Mohammad to kill Abu Sufyan,
the Quraysh leader and merchant.
The Prophet said, "Go to Abu Sufyan and kill him." When I entered Mecca, I had a dagger ready to slay anybody who laid hold of me. My Ansar companion asked, "Should we start by circumambulating the Kaaba 7 times and praying 2 rakas?" I said, "I know the Meccans better than you do." But he kept pestering me until in the end we went to the Kaaba and circumambulated it 7 times and prayed.
A good Muslim is a religious assassin. The Quraysh understood the corrosive influence of Islam better than we do today.
Tabari. One of the Meccans recognized me and shouted, "That is Amr!" They rushed us, saying, "By Allah, Amr has not come here for any good purpose. He has come for some evil reason." Amr had been a cutthroat and a desperado before accepting Islam.
So naturally he was attracted to Muhammad and inspired by Islam.
The Meccans set out in pursuit, so I said, "Let's get out of here. This is what we were afraid of. We will never reach Abu Sufyan now, so save your own skin." We left at full speed, took to the hills, hiding in a cave. In this way, we gave them the slip.
A life was spared because the Quraysh understood the nature of Islam. They recognized their enemy and correctly profiled their enemy's behavior. While not all Muslims are terrorists, virtually all terrorists are Muslims. This should tell us something about Islam. According to independent surveys, 85% of terrorist acts worldwide are directly attributable to the Islamic faith. Yet Muslims represent less than 20% of the world's population. Since the militants are called a radical minority, let's say that only 20% of Muslims are jihad fighters in Allah's cause. If that's true, 4% of the world's population takes Islam seriously. 1 out of every 25 humans emulate Muhammad's example and follows Allah's orders as they are revealed in the Quran and Hadith. These men and women are 2,000% more lethal than the rest of us.
Tabari. Amr said, "Let's wait here until the cry has died down. They're sure to hunt for us tonight and tomorrow."
In shades of Mogadishu, the Meccans sent too few men into harm's way.
I was still in the cave when Uthman bin Malik came riding proudly on his horse. He reached the entrance of our cave, and I said to my Ansar companion, "If he sees us, he will tell everyone in Mecca." So I went out and stabbed him with my dagger. He gave a shout, and the Meccans came to him while I went back to my hiding place. Finding him at the point of death, they said, "By Allah, we knew that Amr came for no good purpose. The death of their companion impeded their search for us, for they carried him away."
Murder number 1.
We remained in the cave for 2 days until the pursuit had died down, and then went out to Qubayb's cross. My companion said, "Shall we take Qubayb down from his cross?" I went to the ground and untied Qubayb. I carried him on my back and had gone about 40 paces when a guard spotted me. I threw Qubayb down and will never forget the sound his body made when it fell. I managed to throw the guard off, ran to my companion, mounted his camel, and went to the Prophet to tell him what had happened.
A foiled assassination attempt and an isolated murder may seem unworthy of the attention I'm affording them, but they were important to Muhammad, Ishaq, and Tabari, and thus to fundamental Islam. And by sharing every episode recorded by Islam's first biographer and first historian, leaving nothing of consequence out, I am confirming a profound truth. Islam, as it was taught and lived by Muhammad, was a terrorist dogma.
Tabari. On the way, I went into a cave with my bow and arrows. While I was in it, a one-eyed man from the Banu Bakr came in driving some sheep. He said, "Who's there?" I said,
Actually lied.
"I'm a Banu Bakr." "So am I." Then he laid down next to me and raised his voice in song, "I will not be a Muslim, and I will not believe in the faith of the Muslims." I said, "You will soon see." Before long the Bedouin went to sleep and started snoring, so I killed him in the most dreadful way that anybody has ever killed. I leaned over him, struck the end of my bow into his good eye, and thrust it down until it came out the back of his neck. After that I rushed out like a wild beast and took flight.
Murder number 2.
I came to the village of Naki and recognized 2 Meccan spies. I called for them to surrender. They said no. So I shot an arrow and killed one, and then I tied the other up and took him to Muhammad.
Murder number 3. Kidnapping number 1. The Muslims were having fun.
Tabari. I had tied my prisoner's thumbs together with my bowstring. The messenger of Allah looked at him and laughed, so that his back teeth could be seen. Then he questioned me, and I told him what had happened. "Well done," he said, and prayed for me to be blessed.
These are the ominous words of the Islamic Hadith, the only words written about this man and his religion within centuries of his death, and they are perverse. 3 cold-blooded murders and a hostage-taking earned a jovial laugh and a hearty, "well done."